everyone, and welcome to our April office hours. My name is Stacy Hatch, and I am a product marketing manager here at GuideCX. We are ecstatic to be with you today. Thank you for taking the time to join us. I can speak for our team here to say we truly look forward to and enjoy this opportunity we have on a monthly basis to talk with you, our customers, to share information about recently released or upcoming product features releasing, and then also get your feedback and insight. We have a fantastic group of team members to present to you on today's call. We have Phil and Chris from our product organization, as well as a special treat. We have Kim on with us from our training team, and I will give them each just a minute to introduce themselves to you, starting with Phil.
All right, thanks, Stacy. Phil, I think I've been on with a few of you before, so excited to be here. Been at GuideCX about a year and a half now. Stacy assigned a fun fact. My fun fact about 2 months ago, got frostbite on my fingers and gave Stacy a scare saying they're going to need to be amputated. Took about a month, but we're back to normal. So
Phil's definitely embracing our guide mentality.
And I'm Chris Haliua. I'm a director of product, and I'll be focused today on how the wisdom pillar is just trying to make your lives easier by giving you easy and easier views of the product. Fun fact for me is I was in Moab last weekend trying to pretend as if Utah actually has a spring. And I found that if you drive south far enough, that's almost true. But I had a great time riding bikes down there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kimberly Francis. I am your live learning training guide. So I'm the face that you see on your team trainings whenever you want to get up to date on some GuideCX best practices. A fun fact about me, I love to paint. So aside from my 9 to 5, 5 to 9 in the morning, I acrylic paint wildlife and nature, and it is something that gives me a lot of joy and peace.
That's awesome, Kim. I definitely am going to want to see some of those paintings after this call. Today, a quick overview of the agenda of what you'll be learning about. Phil's going to kick us off talking about updates that are coming out very soon to the customer portal that we refer to as Compass. Chris is going to be walking us through the new edit functionality that you'll be able to see in the Gantt view, the Gantt project view. And then Kim's going to be walking through kind of in-depth look at some of our advanced reporting, things that maybe you're not utilizing that will help you make your business more efficient as you start to implement those things. So we'll go ahead and kick it off with Phil.
right. Thanks, Stacy. So the last few months, we've been doing a lot of research into how we can help you engage your customers better. And that's really taking a complicated process such as onboarding and trying to simplify it, right? Similar to doing your taxes, which we all love to do. The way that TurboTax has made that simple, we've tried to make onboarding simple through Compass. We initially built Compass because we heard from a lot of you that it's hard to get customers engaged in the traditional provider or the traditional GuideCX application. And the numbers have proven that to be true. So in the conversations that we had with you, we really tackled that by providing Compass, which does 4 things. Number 1, clearly identifies what a customer needs to do by putting that task right front and center, shows when that deliverable is due, shows the status of the project, if that's done, late, on time, and then who to reach out to in case of problems. So we released that in July, and the numbers have been positive for us. We have good signal that customers who are assigned to the Compass view engage at almost a 2 times higher rate than those that are in the traditional GuideCX application. And again, the reason for that is simplicity. So that's the first, I guess, metric that we have. And then number 2, on-time project completion directly correlates to the number of users invited. So if we have 1 to 2 users invited, customer users invited into GuideCX, we have about a 61% on-time completion rate. 5+ users, we have about a 91% on-time completion rate. There's a scale in there, of course, but 5+ is the magic number. So what we've done is built out some features that enable you to more easily invite your customers into GuideCX. The first being what we're calling Compass Path. Prior to Compass Path, to get your users into GuideCX, either the entire org, so all of your customers across all projects need to be in Compass, or all users on a specific project needed to be in Compass. We've changed that to where you can have one user on a particular project in Compass and another user for that same project in the traditional Guide CX application. Next, I'll talk through customers adding customers through Compass, and then also Compass being mobile friendly, which we've been working on as well. So the first piece is Compass Path. So how you add team members is the same as you've always done it. So clicking add team member here, but we've changed this view a little bit. So if I were to invite Stacy as a customer team member, I would invite her here. And then I'll assign her all customer tasks. And now I have 3 views here, whereas before I only had 2. So full project view is as you have it now. Restricting access to my tasks is in the provider application here. But then there's the Compass view, which is again that streamlined project view. So if I add Stacy as a team member here, I can scroll down on this page and see that she has been added as a team member and is assigned to the Compass view. One note, Compass is always the default. So when you hit add team member, again, Compass will be the default. If you want to change that, you can change it there, or you can go to edit project view if you want to change the view for a customer, either from Compass to something else or from full to Compass. You're able to do that here. So now Stacy would be able to log in and go directly to the Compass view. So the next thing I want to touch on is customers adding customer users. So as we mentioned, more customer users equals better on-time completion rates. So if I were to click on that task, for example, let's say I come in here and I'm looking at this task that we call milestone 5, task 1, Vivemus. And I realize that I'm not the person that should be assigned to that. Let's say that Kimberly should be assigned to that instead. I can click on assigned to. This is all the existing users that we have for that project, or I can click assign new user. And as I do that, I can put in Kimberly Francis. Hit reassign. And I notify that she is added to the project and that that task was reassigned. Within Compass, you only see tasks that are assigned to you. So now Kimberly could log into Guide CX and then see that task in the Compass view for her. So last thing I want to touch on is, as I mentioned, mobile responsive. We've spent a lot of time working on that over the past several months. So mobile responsive with Compass, it just enables you to see things on a mobile device. The views are really the same. You can scroll through your tasks, open the task modal, scroll through the tasks that you as a provider are working on. You can also access notes, and those are cleaned up a little bit as well. I missed the click there. So as you scroll up and down, if there were more notes here, I can again assign or send a note to Kim. Hello, Kim. And that would again appear here. They'll scroll up that page just as they would on any other application. So coming back to the Today page, I can also go to notifications and mentions and things like that. So a little bit more mobile friendly. So really excited to have these out. Hopefully they help you engage with your customers better, increase the number of customers in projects, and ultimately complete more projects on time. So Stacy, back to you.
Thanks, Bill. A couple questions coming in for you on the chat and in Q&A. I think this is a great point coming in from Lucas. He said, will there be a future development where you can assign multiple customers to a single task?
We have thought about that. That's not on the roadmap yet, but it is something that we are trying to figure out where we can slate it. So yes, but probably not in the super short term.
Perfect. And then Heather Smith said, doesn't look like I have Compass View enabled for my instance. Perhaps I can get that set up. Heather, maybe give us a little more clarification on what you mean by Compass View enabled, but Phil, maybe this could be something about the release date and what she's seeing in her particular view.
Yes, that's my guess. So prior, Compass View had to be enabled at the project or org level. That should be on now, but we understood that more flexibility was required. So the Compass Path in the add team member, that is not available yet. And we anticipate that being May 3rd.
Yeah. So you will be able to select the experience for a particular user May 3rd with that Compass Path enhancement. There was also a question Danny answered on the chat just about, will we be sharing this recording? And yes, we are recording this and we'll send it out to you via email tomorrow. A couple other questions for you, Phil. Is there any limit around adding users, like customers adding other external users?
There is no limit. They can add as many as they choose. They would all be assigned to that Compass view if they were to add them there.
Perfect. And then on that note, if I were a provider and I had a customer adding another external user, where would I go to be able to see what users have been added to a project?
Great question. And let me share my screen again briefly here. If once I added those team members, I can see them in that team tab. Through just scrolling down here, I can see internal team members and their functions, their roles rather, and then customer team members here. So I can see all those that I added. I just added Stacy to that project, so she's there.
Awesome. And then I just wanted to add one other kind of quick point to what you were saying, Phil, about adding customer users to a project and seeing that we have a higher on-time completion rate when we do add those 5+ customer users per project. And so if you are wondering how many customers do I on average have on my projects, you could go into your reporting section in CX to the customer engagement report, and you'd be able to see an average of customers that you had added to your projects. So be sure to check that out. And with that, Chris, take it away.
All right. I'm honestly just laughing inside a little bit still that Phil has a demo account named Funkle Bunkle. I don't know. I think that there should have been more laughing on that point. But I'm here to talk about my very serious feature of Gantt Mode. Now, about a couple months back, we had a similar part in a webinar where we talked about V1, which focused only on view mode. And it was nice. It was very nice because we were able to not only view, but we could zoom and sort and filter and expand. And it was great view for our customers, our end customers. But really to make sure that it's not only our end customers, you get that glance, at a glance perspective of where the project is at, but also then help our internal teams execute on that project. We've been spending all of our time since then really focusing on making edit mode very fast and stable for you now. So in here, I'll be showing you how we'll be able to make those edits either directly from the table on the left or from the charts over on the right, and a few other fun options that we snuck in. So let's jump into the lab demo. So over here, the first thing that you'll want to focus on is ensuring that you are drilling down not only from the global projects view, but down into a specific individual project. When you have done that, you'll notice that in the past, we used to have just a couple views, and now we have all three. We have the recent view of list view that was released and is one of my favorites because of its speed. And then we have Gantt view that we're focused on now. So over here in Gantt view, one of the first things that might jump out to you is this big red button right here saying that it can help you focus on the critical path. Now, critical path, at least in this definition, is focusing on anything that if it were to move in terms of a task or a milestone, and that single move would then cost all the rest of the project also to slip. So I'm going to click one of my favorite options here on Zoom to Fit, and that'll give me this view of the horizontal zoom I need to hit for my whole project. And I'll try hitting that critical path button. And I'll scroll down here a little bit towards the bottom, and I can see that here's a couple options here that are highlighted in red. So these are the ones that will have the most impact on my project. And what's kind of interesting is if I really zoom in a little bit deeper into those red items, if I were to actually edit those things, all I would need to do is hover over it and grab onto one of the sides that would help me pull that out, or even just double click here inside of one of the cells. So whether you prefer to make those changes on an individual project just by moving it or by extending it or shrinking it, all those options are available for you here directly inside of Gantt, all in line. Now, another thing you can do is export to Excel. That's nice when you want to take this whole view that you have here in the table and just really make sure that that's a type of deliverable that you wanted to give to a customer for a summary. And then another thing that I've found has been really popular ever since we released the view only mode was being able to go in and make sure that you're really pulling in as much into this view at the same time without scrolling. So often what I'll do is I'll collapse our navigation and then I'll come in here to these settings and I'll really pull down the row height and maybe even expand the bar margin to make sure that I have that mix of looking at dozens of objects all at the same time, also while keeping it still very legible. If I zoom in a little bit from here down more to kind of a weekly view, you'll notice another option that we recently added here under settings. I'm under features, I apologize, around non-working time. So by default, we will highlight those weekend days of non-working time. But if for any reason you wanted to just remove that new feature that we recently activated, you can just unclick that. Now, one of the things that I've seen some of my initial beta testers do quite a bit is try to compromise a lot between really having the view focused a lot on the visuals over here on the right, while still having some access to the table over on the left. So other than just dragging bars around or double clicking on individual cells, another thing you can do is actually right click on any of the cells and click edit. And here then you get a whole detailed edit modal where you can come in here and either rename things, or even if you wanted to come in and right click one more time and change the timing on that as well. So I'm going to just move my zoom menu out of the way. And let's say I wanted to expand this up to a duration of a few more days. And I can see that both kind of rendering down on the chart behind and then saving those settings as well. Another thing that is a little bit underrated but very powerful is not only the filters that are inside of this task name, but the filters that are available on each individual column here. So let's say, for example, I wanted to filter only on the items that had a responsibility of customer. I can just interact with the column headers like this. And that actually speaks to a very important kind of data access and security point of how does this view differ for the internal provider team of project managers versus the external customer view. And let's take a look at that real quick. So I'm going to move this out of full screen real fast. And then I'll grab another browser with a totally different session. So this email has been sent to external customer user on that same project. So if they were going to interact with this project, oops, let's get a new link. This is where you see that it's all real life. I'll come back into here. There's my new email. There we go. So now as an external customer, I definitely want to keep them informed on where we are with the project, but I don't necessarily want them going in and changing the scope or changing the timing of things without at least coordinating with me and getting approval. So when they come over here into Gantt view, two things happen. First, we make sure that the visibility column here, let me make this a little bit bigger. The visibility column honors whether it is either visible to external customers or only shows its name. And then even though this is the same project in the same account with the same features activated, customers cannot double click on things, they cannot drag their durations, and they cannot change anything at the table. So you can rest assured that this is a safe view that you can share with them where they're able to see the absolute latest live edits that have been made without having any concerns about any type of interference. So as I just bounce back then to the final view here on the slides, this is not the end for Gantt. There's quite a bit of exciting new options that we're considering for the future. We'll make sure that in our next step that you're able to actually not just define the lengths and dates of tasks, but you're also able to draw these arrows and set dependencies. Then we'll move into creation, where you can get just a plus icon and add in new rows. And then later we'll add in other options like being able to see this in templates and being able to undo and save some of your preferences around which columns are showing and how deep each of your rows are. So that's the vision that we have for Gantt, definitely continuing to expand over time. So because of that, we would welcome your feedback as you try this out.
Thanks, Chris. A question for you that came in from Sage when you were walking through that critical path. She said, are critical path items marked as such in the task or milestone?
So it could be either. You'll notice that both the task and the milestone items will be applied with some conditional formatting in red if either of those things have 0 slack and that their date changes would impact the overall projected end date of the project.
Perfect. All right, Kim, we'll kick it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. So today we're going to be focusing on 3 reports that's going to help you to improve your efficiency starting today. If you've been on any trainings with me, master classes or team trainings, you know how much I love to drive efficiency. And so one line that I've heard our COO, Harris Clark, mention a number of times across his webinars is don't let your data be a rocking chair. And that means that it's moving, but it's without trajectory. And so the idea is you want to be able to access your reports and know exactly what to do with that data so that once a quarter, we can start improving our efficiencies and see that, that growth over time. So the first report that I want to highlight is the template analysis report, a great report that's going to help you to dive into your templates once a quarter when you're auditing them to make sure that every piece of your tasks have been updated and labeled with estimated hours, with durations, with task instructions, and so on. And so we're going to take a look at that report and identify the key areas that you want to pay attention to auditing your template. But one thing I do want to highlight is that in order to keep momentum on your process enhancement, your data should be up to date and true to reality as possible. And so make sure that you allow your projects a natural time to run their course so that the data in your reports are as true to reality and that you can then act upon that information. So your template analysis report can be found in 2 different locations. When you're in your templates page, if you select a specific template, that will give you a breakdown and analysis of that template, its dependencies, how many tasks have expected durations, have estimated hours, instructions, all of that. And each of these features are going to be so key to enhancing your process. The more your instructions are detailed and built out, the more tasks have instructions, the smoother your onboarding and pass-off process goes when you are marking your statuses as done and the next task gets open to another individual. They know exactly what to do without any hiccups in between. The more you have tasks with estimated hours built out means that you can now compare the ideal timeline you were hoping to meet with what actually happened. So let's take a look at that template analysis report. I'm in the templates page and I've clicked into this. I'm in my fake instance here that I like to use for trainings, but let's take a look at that analysis. And on this page, you'll see that I have 100% of tasks with instructions, which is going to be great, but we don't want to use this as our final decision maker, right? If I see check marks on my analysis report that shows that I've got this many tasks with instructions, that might just mean there's 1 word in there, there's 2 words in there. And so this is just one pat on the shoulder. You'll be able to pat yourself on the other shoulder once you go into each of those tasks once a quarter and make sure your talk track is updated with what you're also putting into your template. One thing I hear Mark Mitchell, one of our guides, if you've been blessed to work with him, say is if your process is set in stone, then it may as well be your tombstone. Guys, the reality is your process is actually moving, even if you're not tracking it within your templates, right? If you're not updating your templates, your talk track is updating over time. And so what will happen is your templates and the written instructions and work that you're asking people to complete will not align with what you're saying on your calls and in your project notes. And so we want to make sure that, again, once a quarter we go in and we update those things. And you can also download these reports in any of these pages so that you can have maybe a side-by-side screen as you're going through that auditing process once a quarter. I'm going to keep driving that and hopefully it sticks in your in your minds after today. And then when we go into the reports page, we'll find a consolidated view of all your templates with the template analysis report. The great thing about all reports on this page is you can get to such a granular level of visibility. As you can see there, if you need any information found within these templates, it can be found. And again, just being able to compare these templates and seeing over time, what are my estimated hours, making sure I put those in and compare them with what's going on with reality. And so now we take a look at our project trends report. And this is going to tell us what's actually going on in your tasks and templates that show specific trends, right? And so you want to be able to see what templates are meeting their estimated durations and make tweaks based on that, and what templates may not be meeting that. So looking at this chart here, and you can follow along on your screen as well and click through if you're able to see, because I'm sure your reports will fill out some more factual details in my fake instance here. But if you look at your template durations card here, I like to recommend making sure your templates complete at least 5 times before I start to make any grand changes towards the estimated hours and durations and so on, because now I actually have some true to life data that I can make changes on, right? If I have a template that just completes 1 time, using that information may not be good enough because it might have just been towards that one special situation. And so if I take a look here, I see that my estimated duration based on all the tasks I've got in my template was supposed to be 50 days, but somehow completed it in 1.22 days. That means I can shorten the tasks in my template and therefore shorten the overall onboarding time. If you have any tasks or any templates exceeding their average duration, then that's going to be a sign that I probably need to take a look at where do I need to be realistic with my timelines. And you're going to find that information directly on this page with these task cards here. So if I look at this, this task card here that says task most commonly marked duck, it'll show you the top 5 and what templates they're located on and the responsibility for that task. The great thing about this is if you've seen a task come in, get marked stuck a number of times, and again, we want to see that task being marked stuck a number of times over a number of projects and saying, let me now bake that solution into the instructions of my task. That way, I avoid that constant task being marked as stuck and any possibilities towards my project slowing down due to waiting on a response to why that is stuck. If I have any tasks most commonly completed early, that's also a great sign that I can shorten those task durations and therefore shorten the onboarding experience over time. And lastly, this one's going to be really important. Tasks most commonly completed as late. There are a couple things that we can take a look at here that might help us to decide, do I need to, what do I need to change here to make sure that these tasks can stop being marked late? One thing I learned from a customer on one of my master classes, and I love learning from my customers as well, is that whenever you are faced with data that is outside of the norm, you can look at 3 things: your people, your process, and your technology. In this case, I can look at my people and decide, is this an efficiency issue, or do I need to look at their capacity and think, yes, ideally this task was hopefully supposed to be completed in 2 days, but my internal team members got this task on 50 projects. And so the capacity is now actually a little bit more tight. Same thing with customer tasks. Let's consider, do I need to give my customer a little bit more time for tasks that may be hefty? And then the last report that I want to talk about here is one that I realize a lot of teams don't take advantage of, because this is going to give you so much visibility into why your projects may trend in certain statuses, whether they are late, on hold, or canceled. We want to set up status change reasons so that you can understand why your projects are no longer at an on-time status, right? And you can enable this at the company settings. So let's go take a look at that. I'll go to my company details, into the settings, and I will quickly find the status change reasons here. Now, when I toggle this on, it's going to request that I fill in some reasons that may come up during the onboarding process that made me have to change the status to being late or on hold or canceled. And the benefit of that is if you are at a high level looking at these, they are tied to its own report in the reporting page. And so now you're able to actually see, based on these statuses that I've set up here, does my customer constantly say the product expectations wasn't what they thought it was going to be from the sales point of view, and then transferring to onboarding? Now I need to have a conversation between sales and onboarding and seeing how we can communicate to be on the same wavelength when it comes to communicating with customers. The great thing about this as well is that you set up your things, take a minute to sit and think about all the reasons that may come up on the customer end, on the internal end, and on an external end, like not on your side or the customer side. Maybe there is weather, inclement weather, or a backlog on products being delivered. But again, if you set them up here, that means your PMs don't have to then go into setting them up at the project plan page and think about what was the reason. They have specific reasons that can be tracked. So when I set these groups up in these reasons and I go to my projects, you'll see these icons that will start to show up next to your statuses that are either on hold, late, or canceled. And there are a couple things to note here. Anything that you'll have to manually change, which will be on hold or canceled, before you're able to do that, it will prompt you to have to put in a status change reason in order to be able to change that status, right? So now I can say customer bandwidth is low at this time because they've got a ton of projects coming in the door, so they need to slow down on the process. There's one thing to note about these late statuses. Because these late statuses are triggered by us getting past the planned end date, this is an automatic occurrence. And so you'll need to set expectations with your PMs around making sure that we take the time to select these icons here and add a reason as to what's going on. But now let's go back and take a look. Let me pick one here for this project and we'll see it show up in the reports. We'll just go bandwidth is low. And then when I go to the reports page, I have a status change reasons report, but now I can see, compare my active projects, my completed projects, which groups get used the most often. So is this an internal issue? Is this a customer issue? Or do we need to switch our shipping company because their products are always late? And then I can get more granular by looking at the status change reasons and how often those are used. So now we can figure out, okay, my customer is just unresponsive. How can we make sure that we have someone communicating with them? And I'll tell you what, just like Phil, Chris, and Stacy mentioned, inviting more than one customer, the golden number 5, is going to be key there, because I call that our customer champion on the other side. You have someone helping you to keep in touch with your other team members over there to make sure that they get their tasks done. And then same thing will happen with your completed projects once those fill in. The great thing about these is you can click on these and it'll give you a more granular breakdown. Again, we can download these reports, and then we can also, anytime we see this bell icon on any of these report pages, that means we can actually set up an email to be sent out based on a number of reasons that we set up, and for a certain frequency that we want. That way we don't have to think about that quarterly sitting down to set these things up. They will automatically come out to you, and you can have those conversations with your teams or with your stakeholders. And so today I would love for you all to, number 1, start working with your template analysis report. Make sure your durations, your estimated hours, and your task instructions are all built out all the way so we can improve our efficiency. Secondly, I would love for you all to start setting up your status change reasons. Feel free to, I should have said at the beginning, screenshot that page, but I go deeper into reportings during my master classes. And so I'll make sure that all of these are always there for you to have access to and ask questions at that time as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. As you guys on the call can tell, Kim is a wealth of knowledge. And so I would, again, encourage you to attend her masterclasses. If you want to register and attend those, you can find additional information in Guy University. And then just one kind of final question. I know we're over time. Thanks, guys, for being on. But for you, Phil, from Lucas, he was wondering, are participants able to mark change the status of a participant task. For example, being able to mark it as done, in progress, etc. on their own.
Yeah, great question. I'm just in the process of typing in the answer, but I'll just do it here instead, easier. No, they cannot mark the task as done. They can mark their portion as done, which is visible to you, but only the task assignee can mark the whole task as complete.
Perfect. Thanks, Bill. And then another question from Juliet. She said, when adding a client to a project and Compass View is turned on, do such clients have to create a designated Guide CX account to view their project in the Compass View? Or do they have to click on the email link and they'll be able to see the Compass View as long as Compass View is turned on in the project setting?
Yeah, as long as it's turned on in the project settings, that email that they receive, that email link will take them directly to Compass.
Perfect. Yeah, of course. Thank you for the question, Juliet. And just again, as a recap, that the new updates that you've seen to Compass, we're looking to release those May 3rd. You will get email notification and in-app notification from us letting you know that those updates are live. And the same thing with that editable Gantt functionality. Should you want that editable Gantt functionality turned on in your instance sooner, you could reach out to your CSM. We're just walking through some kind of final tests internally. So you would be part of a little bit of a beta on that for us. But stay tuned for more information to come from us. And you can also tune in. We have a webinar with CSC upcoming as well. Check out LinkedIn should you want to attend that. Again, we so appreciate this time we have to meet with you every month, and we look forward to talking with you next month. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.